What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Experience More podcast. Pumped and excited to have each and every one of you guys joining with me here this week. As in this week's episode, we're going to be diving into actions over emotions. But first, before we dive into this week's episode, I just want to say thank you for each of you guys who have gone out, recommended the show to friends, family, colleagues, other outdoorsmen and women, and really, if you can honestly send me a handful of messages throughout this journey, right? This podcast is an experience for me in itself. And to know that you guys are taking some sort of value from it, different nuggets, as I would like to call them, they're little golden nuggets, right? Whether it's through my own personal experiences, people that I have the privilege to be able to share their journeys with you on the show, just in hopes. It's the Experience More podcast. It's about living a lifestyle that allows you to experience more of the great outdoors, more of life as a whole with others that you love to enjoy it with, you love to experience it with. So as you know, I riff these episodes. I do have a kind of set topic, believe it or not, guys, for really, when it comes to the solo cast, putting things like, I have these day-to-day thoughts as I talked about on last week's podcast, just a lot. I really usually riff them through my own personal experiences. I might just jump on here, have a talk based off of, a personal interaction that I might have had. And with that, I take notes. I have a notes tab in my phone of like different key hits that I want to be able to hit on, because I know how big of a role they've played in my life, how much I've struggled with them in all reality throughout my life, maybe continue to struggle with them. And I've just gotten better at acknowledging those different lows, right? We all have highs and lows of life, good weeks, bad months, good years, bad years. And come to learn throughout my life is you don't really get rid of any of those. The good weeks, the good months, good years, all the bad, it's all gonna come and go. And you're gonna go through it. You just, throughout life, you become better at acknowledging those moments and knowing how to handle them. And ultimately your tolerance to stress and those pressures are just better. So I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you guys through this journey, through this experience of building the Experience More podcast, because it does mean a lot. In particular, I did get a message this week that really just kind of hit me, like a freight train. And you guys don't realize how much that means to me, because I'm just like any of you guys. I have my own personal dots. I have my own personal demons that, wreak havoc on my own personal beliefs. And I just have to tell myself to keep going. But those little words of encouragement, those reviews, those shares, hearing your guys' stories, and that's what it's all about. At the end of the day, it's, sometimes you wonder, is like anyone listening, is it really hitting home? Does it help? Am I crazy? Like, is this stupid? And I know it's not, right? Like, that's why I keep doing it, just aimlessly talking here, but it does mean a lot. So I just want to say thank you. I appreciate each and every one of you guys who have done any of those little things, whether it's your own personal, journey and going out there. The greatest gift I could ever get from any of you guys is really you just taking a nugget from this show and going out and making yourself better, helping your experiences be greater in the outdoors, in the hunting woods, in life, in your family. And whether they're my own personal nuggets or you take it from guests, and just go truly experience more of it. So that's all. Quick going down the rabbit hole on that side of things, but I appreciate you guys being here and listening to the show. For those of you guys who are new, this is a weekly show. It's going to be either a solo cast with myself and just you and me right here hitting it. And then I have guest appearance episodes that I'll be trickling in as well as they come. And ultimately, I'm going to make sure that the people that I have on here, I want to be able to provide you guys value of some sort. And it's usually going to be based around the outdoors, physical fitness, family, values, beliefs. I believe that everyone has a story, and throughout all of my life, some of the greatest lessons I've learned are through stories and others' experiences. And we can all learn from each other, right? Through all those, learn from others' failures, others' successes, and know that we're all really not that different. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, how successful anyone is. We all put our pants on the same way. And at the end of the day, we all are truly, truly capable of extraordinary things. It's just whether or not we give ourselves the permission to go out there and get after it. So a little hit on last week's episode. But this week, okay, let's dive into this one. I'll just keep rambling if I don't get myself corrected here. Actions over emotions. This is a topic that I believe is super, super powerful, because you think about it, a lot of individuals allow their emotions to rule their life. They are connected to anything and everything that they're ultimately doing emotionally, right? You're watching, you just think of general population. Most people are watching movies or get sucked into the bar scene or any of these things because it emotionally connects them, right? In one way, shape, or form, it makes them feel something, right? And you got to really, really take note on this is like emotions themselves are not the enemy. Emotions are actually very, very powerful, right? But they make terrible leaders in leaders in your workplace, right? We've all had that emotional leader, right? We've all had, the relationships where the emotions led the conversation and it probably wasn't the greatest conversations. And then also emotions are not great leaders in yourself, but it is very, very powerful to understand your emotions and to gather where you are at, because if you're going out there and you're wanting to get healthier, you're wanting to chase your dreams, you're working to fix a relationship, you're wanting to start a business, or simply becoming the person that you truly are capable of becoming, success, no matter what, it does not come from how you feel. It means nothing. Your feelings mean nothing. And that is, if you could take anything from the show right there, just take that. Your emotions mean nothing. But I feel like I deserve this. You don't deserve shit. I don't deserve shit. At the end of the day, it all comes down to the actions that you are willing to take, especially on the days that you don't feel like taking them, right? And that's where, it comes into every facet of your life, right? My wife and I, just little story in this piece, when we first started dating, if we did have a little spat and little argument, and that's one thing I really, truly, little humble brag, and it's we really have never had a true fight, screaming match, X, Y, and Z. Even if you guys realize kind of what we've personally gone through, not getting into the weeds or kind of diving into personal stuff, but it hasn't been easy this last year. There's struggles that we have. Every relationship has them, but excuse me, I'm going to take a drink. Just give me a sec. I will not allow emotions to dictate my conversation. And, sometimes that leaves me slow to react when maybe I should have reacted a little bit quicker or jumped into different things. But in my relationship, even with my wife, it's one thing that I'm not perfect by any means. She's not perfect by any means. Our relationship is awesome, but also has its flaws, and every relationship will. But that's the whole thing. When you go in and you go through and say those words, I do, and you read your vows, it's that piece, for better or for worse, I take that very, very personally. And I know I look at, any aspect of emotions, getting this, and I know it's a little bit off topic of it, but, great book on this is Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. And, I am 50%, if not 100% of the problem, at least 50%. That's how I look at it. And, if my wife is struggling somewhere, or, she made a mistake, well, really, what did I do to contribute to that? That's really how I take it. I mean, for instance, we had a very, very big issue come up that, really was came to light a few days ago that was based off of something that happened a couple years ago. And, if you don't address things directly straight off the bat, and this is not in our relationship, but something that had happened with her a few years ago, and it's ultimately coming back kind of full swing, and we've gotten through it. But if that would have just been addressed a few years ago, and we would have had better communication personally together a few years ago, or even a year ago, it probably wouldn't have escalated to ultimately what it is today. And that, for me, is my fault, right? What did I do to put up the barriers to not allow her to be able to talk to me about certain things, right? And that's where I had to look at it. It's like I could get really, really upset and mad about certain actions or things that were ultimately taken. And she could have got really upset and mad about things that I had done, right? But that's one thing that I really do cherish about our relationship is usually when those times do come, it's a miscommunication and it's a lack of communication. And it's really it's a sign that, hey, we are misaligned in our goals, in our personal goals, in our family goals. And we just need to come back together with that. And that, like, emotionally, we were able to move so much further. And I have to swallow pride. I have to, look at it from a sense going right back to the extreme ownership is like, I'm also a big part of this. And the point here that I'm trying to make is if I would have emotionally charged that, it would have led into nothing but an argument continuing to go around in circles over and over and over and over and over and over again. And the reality is, like, I sat there and thought, and she's like, well, do you have anything to say? And I'm like, just give me a minute. Like, I'm thinking. And it's okay to think. Like, you don't need to jump into these things because, honestly, usually, emotionally, you jump right into it and you try to defend it. And I will defend what needs to be defended. But I also am trying to articulate my thoughts, my feelings, and control those feelings. Like, and this, anyone at work, and anyone who has worked with me in the past understands, like, it takes a lot to piss me off, to, like, make me see red. You usually got to go through and be a complete douchebag and do something to someone else, a friend or a family member, to really get me heated in those ways. But, like, I personally try and live my life and will continue to live my life to where I always want to make sure that I am fair. Anything that I do is fair and that I will never be known as a liar. Like, I'm not perfect. I'll make mistakes and I'll own those mistakes. And that's where I believe, like, emotions and the control of those emotions, even when I had my CrossFit gym back in the day, like, my business partner and I could have been very emotional, right? In that I had every right to be emotional in different scenarios before we had gone separate ways and I sold my half to him. But that's where it's like I just take a step back, look at the bigger picture to it. It's very easy to get lost in the woods when you're amongst the trees. You have to be able to step back, have that 10,000 foot view and really see the forest for what it is. And so many times when you're in the heat of the action, right, it's very, very hard for you to take that wide view perspective, whether that is in your business, in your relationship, in your fitness journey. Like, you have to understand where you are at and emotionally remove the emotion from those conversations, interactions, because it's literally something that's not going to serve you. But emotions can serve you very, very well if you understand how to control them, and you also have gone through enough to understand how those emotions are affecting other individuals, and, like, if you can meet them where they are at to ultimately find a solution to the problem or to the goal that is ultimately in front of you. Like, that's where you have to align. It's like, what is the common goal here? What is the personal goal here? And if you could do that, understanding your emotions, understanding other people's emotions can be a very, very, very powerful tool, because at the end of the day, like, emotions are just something that are temporary. Like, we all have those days we don't feel like working out. We all have those days we don't want to get out of bed. We all have those different fears or doubts and insecurities, frustrations. Like, all of those things are emotions, right? And I always, like, be a proponent to where you have control over nothing that happens to you today. Like, think about it. You don't have control of how your spouse, your boss, like, people you meet out on the street, you don't have control over how they are going to act. You don't have control over really anything of how the government is going to do what the government does. You don't have control over how that buck is going to walk through the woods or what that bull is going to do on the side of the mountain. Like, you don't have control over any of those things. But the one thing you will always have control over is how you respond to anything and everything that comes your way on a day-to-day basis. And how you respond is ultimately going to lead to the outcome. And the better you can tap in to how you respond to those things emotionally, the greater result you're going to have at the end. And usually you can find a better way to go about what you are doing to achieve the ultimate goal that you have in front of you. right? Like that's just the biggest thing that I have to give you guys, because like if you emotionally charge yourself, the actions you take are probably not going to be the best ones. Think of the relationships you've had. Think of the workplace that you are in. You've probably all sent an email or a text that if you would have given it 5 seconds or maybe 5-10 seconds later, a couple minutes later, you look, it's like, fuck, probably shouldn't have sent that. I wish I wouldn't have sent that. I wish I wouldn't have said that. I wish I wouldn't have done that. Wish I. Now, if you would have given yourself a couple seconds, took ownership, swallow your pride, take a minute to diagnose that you are at least 50% of the problem, right? If not more. And you just have to own that. And if you can emotionally disconnect from that and look at it from an outside perspective and maybe the other individual's perspective or individuals' perspectives, at the end of the day, you can usually find a silver lining in anything and everything. And the sooner, the quicker, the faster you can ultimately find that and pivot and move, the quicker you are going to be able to get to your destination, right? Like that it's just something that is, I believe, served me so well and has allowed me to sleep so good at night in many different areas. And like when I've usually had the highest moments of stress or anxiety or anything in my life has always been when I've allowed my emotions to control my actions. And then you think about that through a diet plan, right? Emotionally, we get stressed out, we get like this overwhelming sense of feeling, and then we go straight to the junk food that give us comfort. Really talked about that in the last episode last week. It's like we go to those things that are comfortable when stress is high, but if you can go through and understand that all of those things that are usually tripping you up and trying to lead you astray, why it's a bad leader, like really those are just emotions. And if you can understand that you are in total control of how you respond to all of those things, you can get shit rocking and rolling pretty quick in the right direction. And I'm again teaching every one of you guys, like I'm not perfect. I still slip up. I still let my emotions get me. But as time has gone on, I don't sit there and stew on it. And I identify that I'm allowing myself to slip like that. I'm able to recorrect and pivot and move in the direction that I know I am wanting to move and I am capable of moving, right? That is the biggest takeaway that I want you guys to really take from all of these things, because like if you can create better actions, maybe use that book that I talked about in last episode, the Atomic Habits. If you use that and you stack those habits and maybe you're emotionally charged and it creates a trigger, right, to where now you can stack a better habit on top of that and take a better action towards the goals that you have. Like that's how you can ultimately really create good actions, right? Talked about it before that, the work comes before the belief. Well, action, if you really kind of think about it, like the actions you take creates the motivations that you have, to where it just creates this motivational like compounding effect overall, to where like you think about it, it's like, okay, I have motivation, I'm going to take action. That's where a lot of people go through and think, like that's what most people think. I need motivation to take action, right? I want to make sure that sounded a little bit twisted. My dyslexic brain was kicking in there. But most people, I believe, think is like, I'm motivated now, so I'm going to take action, right? When reality is, it's usually like if you take action, you start creating momentum, and then that momentum really builds the belief, what compounds giving you more motivation, because you most likely are starting to see a result moving forward. And that's just where you have to keep that momentum rolling. And that only happens if you're taking not huge actions, but just those micro actions on a day-to-day basis, where you can use the old saying of like, hey, one foot in front of the other, left foot, right foot. The elephant isn't eaten in a whole one bite. It's eaten one bite at a time, right? Like that mentality, like that's the way I've had to approach it in my life. The second I'm trying to go through and do everything, anything and everything right now, like it becomes overwhelming, because like you're looking at the top of the mountain, you're like, holy shit, that's a really long ways to get there. When the reality is, for me to get to the top of that mountain, even though yes, majority of the time when I'm climbing a real mountain, I'm just like, hey, point A to point B, straight line, go. The reality is you're usually doing little switchbacks all the way to the top. And those little switchbacks, You're going back and forth, making small movements consistently, allowing yourself not to burn out. But even though the progress might not be seen all the time, you're still making headway and you are closer to that summit than the individuals who maybe just tried to go straight to the top, stopped, burnt out, said, screw that, it's way too hard. You just consistently kept moving through little daily actions. It's where things like 75 hard are so powerful, because it's literally 5 simple critical tasks that you do on a day-to-day basis. After 75 days, people they can't even recognize themselves. They can't even recognize the way they used to think, because they've built so much belief in themselves through small daily actions to ultimately get to where they're wanting to get. That is the power of a power list, creating critical tasks on a day-to-day basis that hold you accountable, right? To go out there and take extreme action. I've always wondered this, and this is going off on a little bit of a tangent piece, but it's very, very applicable to what I want to talk about here is, of course, work at First Form headquarters. We have, transformation challenges that go on every single year. $300,000 transformation challenges, quarterly winners, yearly winners, male, female teams. We do a bunch of different stuff. And I always wondered, you have this challenge that has really no structure. It's just hey, sign up, take your picture, get in, do workouts, track your food. The more consistent you're in the app, the more results you have. But there's not really an accountability in it. It's just get signed up. In 8 weeks, there's going to be a winner. And it's whoever was consistent with that 8 weeks, had the best results, and ultimately won, right? Huge payout on that. But there's not a lot of accountability or personal accountability in that, unless someone has found themselves in a structure that allows them to be accountable to themselves, or maybe in a community that is accountable to themselves, right? A lot of people have been very successful with getting into the My Transformation Facebook group and surrounding themselves by other people. It's who you are, who you surround yourself with. But that is one piece where you have this great potential earnings or winnings in there, right? To have for yourself, but no accountability in it, to where then you have something like 75 hard, which is 75 days, consistently zero payout, right? But it is, if you don't do these 5 critical tasks each day, you get 10 days into it and you miss one of those things. Maybe it's the drinking the water, maybe it's the 10 pages of the book, or taking as simple of just your daily progress photo, right? You miss one of those things, you start right back at day 1, and it's extreme accountability, right? The thing is, you could fudge it and be oh, I forgot it. No one else will know. Guess what? You will always know if you went through and fudged the program. It's a free program and it's changed people's lives. I watch it literally change and save people's lives. But it's because most people felt out of control because their emotions ran their life, right? To where an individual who has never done 75 hard, they get into it, they get 10, 20, 30 days. They start having this accountability, these small actions that compound, that solely are only made to, the only payout in this program is literally you just being a better version of yourself at the end of it. And I always wondered and looked at that as why don't people just marry that together? It's here's a transformation challenge, great payout, very little accountability. But if you did 75 hard at the same point in time, just sign up for the challenge, went through, did 75 hard, guess what? Most likely, if you're following a nutrition regimen, you're making yourself better, you're drinking the water, you're doing the workouts, you're not drinking the booze or having the junk cheat meals. If you did 75 hard along with that, the payout on that, regardless of any winnings happening, you're still a better version of yourself at the end of it. It just so happens if you went through and stayed consistent enough with that program and diligent enough and just focused on being a better version of you, probably at the end of the 8 weeks, you'd be an extremely better person of yourself, right? And in a running of being someone who's maybe at the forefront of that transformation challenge. And that's where the people who have won those transformation challenges, right? If we look at them, they don't track their meals every single day in the First Form app, but they track 75% of them. A lot of people think, oh, they tracked every single workout, they tracked every single meal. It's not true, right? A good majority of the people who have gone through and won that, yes, they're more consistent than the average individual out there, right? But they are getting better at the process and they are becoming more consistent at what they are doing, and they're taking those small actions, right? That's all it is. Individuals who win that challenge have just been disciplined and saying, this is who I am. This is where I'm going. And these are the things. I'm not going to focus on the finish line. I'm going to focus on taking the next best step. I'm going to take the next best action for me and the goals that I ultimately have. Instead of looking at the mountain of the $300,000 like winnings or anything of that nature, right? That's the mountaintop. People get so worried about that. Like, it's out of my reach. I'll never get it. And then they just give up and quit. To where instead of looking at that, look at something like 75 Hard, to where it's like, hey, all I have to do is do these 5 things every single day for 75 days. I'm not going to worry about day 75 because that's a ways out. I'm going to worry about getting my 5 things done today, doing what I need to do life. And then tomorrow when I wake up, I'm just going to focus on doing those 5 next things, do them again. And then the next day I'll do the next 5. And then the next day I'll do the 5 again and again and again. And just taking those actions, compounding to the result you ultimately are looking for in the long run. And it baffles me that is a hard concept. Or maybe someone's like, oh, I'm not doing the challenge, but I'm going to do 75 hard, because I really don't. I think that's that fear, right? Of someone looking at the mountain like it's out of my realm. So why would I even try? Why the fuck would you not? You will miss 100% of the shots you never take. You will miss every opportunity you never put yourself in the ring for. Like, the worst thing that happens is you don't get it, but you'll never get it if you don't try. You'll never achieve anything if you don't try. It's that mixture of fear. It's the mixture of emotions letting you get the best of you. How many of you, like, think about it as like, how many of you have thought of something or wish you had done something, and then all of a sudden, you know, a year later, you look at someone went through and created it, and you're like, fuck, I had that idea like 3 years ago. I knew I should have done that. Yeah, you should have. Man, what do you have right now? What thoughts do you have? What creations could you create? It's one of the things I can think back. Like, I have a book, guys. This is something that I still beat my head. I have my invention, right? Is this fishing lure, right? And I'm not like, it is a lure that has like, and it's already been created one way, shape, or form, but it was a complete depth changing lure, right? Like, it had the ability to go through and change depth. And this is back, I made this thing, drew this out, and I had made like a prototype. God knows where it is now. I thought it was going to be the coolest thing. And I should have gone through and ultimately patented it, put it together. And I'm like, this will work. One lure to be able to go from a foot of water to 10 feet of water. And like, you can put all these things together. Crazy. Awesome. And then years later when I'm older and I wish I knew more of what I know now, and I look at it as like, well, shit. I definitely should have done that, because now I see those things. Or my dad had this same thing, like years before the clapping light, like where you clap your hands and a light comes on and goes off. My dad's like, fuck, should have done that. Knew that would have been a good idea, right? Yeah, it would have been. And it was. It's not would have been. It is a great idea. So outside of like inventions, like that's just an example of it. Like, we all have those different thoughts. Like, we can act on them. There's some really, really crazy cool things. And I'm just as guilty on it as any of you guys are. But there's things you want to do, aspirations you have, and emotionally you're like it's the fear of failure in there. It's the emotions getting the best of you, to where it's like, man, if you just took the actions, and the people who go out there and achieve some really, really cool shit, those are the individuals who just took action on the thoughts that they had. They didn't let emotions get the best of them. So that's that. I think if we can all just take it as like, you just have to stop negotiating with yourself. Like, your body, your mind is always going to try and take the path of least resistance in anything that we ultimately do. But that is, if we can go through and quit negotiating with the little terrorist inside of ourselves that is always trying to sabotage what we do, like that, and really stack it with some good actions in it, the results are exponential, right? So the biggest thing I really want you guys to take from this is like, you are truly in control of your emotions. It's the only thing that you're truly in control of. You could get a flat tire on your way home from work. How do you respond to it? How are you going to let it affect the rest of your day? If you had a bad day at work today, are you going to let the bad day at work go through and emotionally like detach you from your family? Are you going to allow it to affect your family? Like, dude, guys, like, and this is all to the men, and I speak to myself in this scenario, like, we are in control of how we respond to all of those things, and ultimately not how it just affects you or I, but how it affects everyone around us. It's a very, very powerful thing to be able to take note on, because like, your true identity, when you think about the people, the identities of everyone else around you, Like, they're built through the actions that they take and also that they don't take. So it's up to you on what do you want to be known for? Who are you? What is the identity you have for yourself? What's the identity you've created for others about yourself? Because that piece will only come, and the confidence with that will only come from the actions that we take on a day-to-day basis. Because truth is, your friends, your loved ones, your coworkers, your family, your kids, like, your kids won't remember every single thing you talk about, right? But they'll remember what dad did, what mom did. Like, they'll remember how they responded to those good and bad scenarios. Your spouse is going to notice it, man. Like, guys, like, she notices how you respond to those things, good and bad. She understands, she notices how you treat her in those different things. Your kids notice how you treat her in different things. Mom, your kids know how you treat your husband, back and forth. Like, it is give and take in all of these things. And that's a powerful thing to be able to understand. And I speak to myself wholeheartedly in all of that, because again, like, I'm not perfect, but I know through this journey of life, one of the greatest things that I personally really try to take note on is how am I emotionally responding to all of these things, even if it takes me a second to be able to step back, right? So I do have kind of off of that note just for you guys, because I think I gave you, a little like kind of challenge or whatnot last week, and I think I kind of like that format, right? Kind of give you guys like a little challenge on a week-to-week basis to go out and actually put some things into action. So, I really, this week for you listening along, is like, every morning, all I want you to do is ask yourself this: what action moves me closer to who I want to become this week? What action moves me closer to be who I want to become this week, today, this year, just every single morning this week? Ask yourself that, because it's those little questions and those little actions that are ultimately going to move us. It doesn't have to be a bunch. It doesn't have to be 5, doesn't have to be 4. Just pick one. What is one action that will move me closer to becoming the individual I want to be? You have to allow yourself to sit in that and think about it, and then audit yourself and really understand, like, okay, that's that one action, and just focus on it. Maybe it's workout. Maybe it's go for a mile walk. Maybe it's research the hunt that you want to go on. But when that emotion comes in and says, oh, I don't, again, that's an emotion. You're already trying to like bargain with yourself. You're already trying to talk yourself out of it. Before you allow that emotion to go through and have any say in any of it, nip it in the butt. That's all you need to do. Focus on one. Okay. With that, I just appreciate each and every one of you guys being here this week. It's, like I said, it's a powerful piece for me to be able to get messages from you, and I thank you for that. I don't expect it or need it, but definitely, if you got anything from this episode, if you feel like anyone could get something from it or maybe help them, send it their way. Share with them. Share it on your social. The show, of course, going and growing, building out. And for any of those guys who are new, like there's 3 different styles of episodes here. 1 is going to be the solo cast, such as this one. 2 is going to be special guests coming on to really be able to hear and learn through their stories of life and the experiences that they have. And then 3 is going to be more of a product review and or talk about, because I don't have like sponsors. And even if I have sponsors in the future or things of that nature, guys, like I have friends. I have friends and relationships who have supported the show unwillingly. Like they have just done that, right? But no technical sponsors or sponsors of the show through it. I just have good people in my circle, and I'm thankful for those individuals who have supported thus far and have allowed me to be able to give back to you guys. For those of you guys who are on Instagram, you see me doing the Overdose Outdoors, Year of Giving, right? That's the YouTube channel that I have, to where every single month I've been giving back something of some sort of outdoor value, whether it's, a meta kit like this last week, some Vortex optics, some other gear and tools that I've ultimately been able to get over the years that, it might be my own personal things that I'm not using, or I've upgraded some areas, or like Denny Dennis, my local pro shop, going through and donating a dozen arrows, and just reaching out and saying, hey dude, we want to support the show and everything that you're doing and support what you are doing for the YouTube channel, the Experience More podcast. And it's really, really cool to see. And any of those products that I talk about and anything that I use, I'm never going to shove shit down your guys' throat. It's just stuff that I use and has helped me truly experience more of the outdoors. And I would hope that it's a tool that you could maybe use yourself to get out there and experience it and utilize it and just hopefully help you on your adventures. So do appreciate you guys coming on. Remember, your emotions, they are not your enemy. They are simply passengers on this crazy, crazy ride we call life. And like, how you stay disciplined is really like you being behind that wheel, right? And controlling and understanding like how you stay disciplined to your actions on a consistent basis is you in control of that wheel, and knowing that, hey, you are in control of those emotions. Because most people, like, they live their entire lives, they go their entire lives where they always feel emotionally driven, right? Or emotionally drained. And even emotionally drained is still an emotion. And if you can get behind that wheel and understand that you have the discipline towards those small actions to move you forward, at the end of the day, your actions will always trump the emotions if you put yourself in the driver's seat. All right. I love you all. I appreciate you guys coming on, being a part of the show, and get out there, get after it, go experience some more. Appreciate you. We'll see you on the next one.